All right, so as you can see, we did have some leakage of this out of this form. This really wasn't a very well put together form. In fact, you can see I can just pretty much lift it up. In fact, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to lift this piece up and I'm going to toss it over. Now this piece, we had left it in here loosely just to kind of see, kind of separate our two batches. So this was batch number 1. And, you know, I have to say, it's not as bad as I thought. That is pretty structural. That seems to be holding up well. Obviously, this is very much denser than what I was looking for. Although it is very strong, it does seem to be holding its weight well. There you are. Now, as you can see, this batch has a lot of inconsistencies in it. It's not homogeneous. It's got a lot of holes and cracks in it, but this is very dense. I don't think this is the actual density of the final product that we're looking at. Now this feels like much more the density. It's very light. In fact, compared to this, and obviously this is a whole block, this little piece that seeped out of here, these pieces feel the right weight. They feel like, you know, these things have a lot of compressive strength. I can break off the edges, so I can like work the edges off, but once I get to a certain area, in fact, let me put this guy down and just drop it here. You know, it's pretty solid. Like, you can take it and break it, that's for sure. There's no questioning that. I could probably break this, and it's probably not, you know, it's not the strongest thing, but you know, compressive strength, like, I am putting a lot of pressure on there and I cannot compress this stuff. So it would actually be interesting to set up one of those ASTM compression tests. I might actually do that if I can find the pieces for it. Maybe I'll go down to the Home Depot or Lowe's and see if we can do a compression test on this. But this is not the density I was looking for. I think this is way, like you can see on top, it's kind of falling apart. But that is, man. Okay, there we go. I'm wondering how strong this stuff was. So you see, it doesn't have, just by its definition, it doesn't have the lateral strength, right? It just like a brick, you can break it. But what it does have is it has compressive strength. So I'm really having to pound on it. And I have a feeling that, like, you see how it decimated here in these edges? I have a feeling that has to do with, this is like, again, I wasn't very consistent in making it. So there's different, you can actually see there's different variations of kind of that pumice look in it. Like up here it's very porous, and down here it's very dense. And that's just because I didn't get the right mixture of concrete in here. But I'm beginning to understand what the idea is. The idea really is, yeah, it's not supposed to resist, right? Lateral, it's not supposed to resist these kinds of forces. But if you take a piece of it and you just try to compress it, see, I can't compress this. And that's where the load-bearing function of this product, I think, comes from. All right, that's me yammering a lot about nothing. So this was batch 1. I think batch 2, I may have done a little bit better of a job. I'm going to stop the camera, see if we can take a look at batch 2, and we'll go from there. All right, good stuff. This is from batch 2, and I think because of the problems I was having with batch 2, where the tube hits the mixing blade, that tube actually launched away from where it was holding at the near the neck of the mixer, and so the foam was coming out through there. The concrete, you know, I didn't have enough mixture at the bottom, I didn't have enough slurry. But here's, and that was one of the reasons why I wasn't able to get a consistent product. But here's what I want to show you. See down here how, you know, how nice and tight the air bubbles are, and it's kind of almost hard to even work the material. And then as you go up in these striations, you can see where the stuff kind of starts getting really brittle, right? And the reason is because you can see it has a tremendous amount of air in it, right? There's a lot of air bubbles in there. This was the top foamy part that ended up coming out at the end. As much as I had tried to mix it, you can kind of see I have this very pumice-like product here, right? But you can see that it's really soft up here, whereas down here, like, I have a really hard time even breaking off a decent piece of it. Like, it is hard, whereas up here it's crumbly. I can crumble it with my hand up here, but down here it's nice and tight. So somewhere, here we go, here's a bottom piece. You can see how there's not a lot of aeration as opposed to the other pieces. It's got air pockets in it, you know, it's got air in it, but it's not as airy as the other one. So somewhere between this bottom part and somewhere between this top stuff, right, I think is going to be the right mixture, and it's got to be somewhere right in here. That's probably what the feeling. But although I'll tell you, this stuff is very light. Now here's a part, I'm gonna see if I can even break off a piece without it crumbling. Here's a very, very top piece. This is like, you can see it just wants to break apart completely. Although this one seems to have some good stuff in there. I don't know, it was very inconsistent, the material that I was making. But hopefully this close-up of it kind of shows you how getting a homogeneous mixture, making sure that the foam is at the right density, all of these things are going to make a good product. This is definitely baking. So with baking, you got to get those amounts right. At some point, I'm hoping to just feel my way through the product, but for now, it's definitely down to the measuring cup and making sure we get the right densities on the foam, making sure we've got a good slurry, that it's all mixed in there, and then when we hit it with the foam, that the foam has the right density, and at the right density, it's actually being injected into the material.